Well, film noir is an expression I think coined by in cahiers de film by
the French
intellectual French critics, and I think it preceded the period of this film, but I may be wrong.
Were you aware of other films of this style around that time in the 40s?
Oh yeah, I'm really not sure of the timing of all these films, and my own opinion, of course, the greatest of the film noir was Double Indemnity.
Yes, and you had seen that before this, because that comes 44. Everybody saw that.
Everybody
saw it. Yeah.
That was the classic. Now, we were a little studio, and we were making. Here I am making excuses. I see. Double features, as I said. This film was shot in 8 days. The film cost $85,000 to make. It was made under very
and I bet our movie savvy audience got that you had a very restricted setting for the film, and you sort of disguised it cleverly. There are scenes that sort of open it up, but your sets must not have been any larger than this room. The space in which the film was made.
Actually, this room is larger, I think, than any we had. The film was made in what was then Monogram Studio, which is the present location of KCET, if any of you know where that's located, on Sunset Plaza Drive. The film was shot entirely on the sound stages at that little studio. Plus there was a very small, really very limited New York street in that studio that was mainly used in their Bowery Boy pictures.
And you get maximum use out of that little street. You disguise it very well. There are some character actors in this film that our audience recognized. Well, Elisha Cook, of course. Now, he does the same sort of performance in Phantom Lady. Was there any sort of
I don't know, perhaps. He of course was a classic film noir actor.
Absolutely.
And I was delighted to have him in the picture because I thought it gave us some kind of identification with all those.
It did.
Really,
it did. And Iris Adrian as Mrs. Sindel.
Yeah, she's terrific.
I mean, lots of personality. Lots of personality.
We were looking for a sequence where we could kind of relieve the tension,
and
if there was any.
I want to ask you about the leading man. The leading man is the father of Chris and Sean Penn. You can actually see Chris Penn in his father. And I think he's pretty good, but his career didn't
Well, he became a director. He became a director and had a very, very long and successful career as a television director. And of course, Robert Armstrong,
King Kong,
who played also had a very, very long career, and I guess his outstanding role was as the lead in King Kong.
Now, tell us about the Austrian director Reginald Leborg.
Well, the Austrian director Reginald Leborg was a very continental gentleman. His true name actually is Leborg backwards, Grobel. And he had rather a good career directing B pictures, and
there's some flavor and texture in this one.
And did get as much as he could out of what he had to work with.
Did a lot of the montages are terrific in this film. Yeah, aren't they good? The montages are excellent.
Yeah, I thought they were, and I was also quite impressed with the music in the picture.
Yeah, it is good. So you see, you've got to stop downplaying this film. It's a lot better than you think it is. I think next year we should book the second one. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. Another Cornell Woolrich. We love Cornell Woolrich.
However, it actually, by that time in my career, I was paid a fee of $2,500 for making this picture, and so it may sound like it now, but even back then it wasn't very much. I sort of needed to get going quickly, and by then I had already acquired the rights to Bomba the Jungle Boy. And while all this was going on,
we have to show those because those are hard to find. I tried to look some up. They've
been running on Turner every week.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they've rediscovered them.
Okay.
And once I kind of got that started, that became a series of pictures. And so by then I had a minimal kind of income that I could sort of depend on and begin to try to flex my muscles.
Our time is so limited, but the arc of your great career, from Monogram to Allied Artists to the great period at United Artists and ending up at Universal. For our audience, in a couple of sentences, what qualities does one need to be a producer?
A couple of years ago, I wrote a book.
We were making movies,
it's called I Thought We Were Making Movies, Not History. It runs about 400 pages, and it's all those 400 pages that are the answer to your question.
There's a passage in your book that has given me a number of sleepless nights since Walter produced or supervised one of the greatest films ever made in America called Invasion of the Body Snatchers. In the book, you say that nobody involved in the making of the film had any intention that this was a political allegory of McCarthy America. It was not about communists. For about 35 years, I've been telling my students this is a great anti-communist allegory. Do I have to take it all back, or should they revoke my tenure?
Take it all back. You know, certain intellectuals glommed on, like yourself, glommed on to Invasion of the Body Snatchers and tried to make it a metaphor for its times, and I don't know, perhaps it is. However, we didn't make it to be that.
But is it possible it is a thriller? But is it possible it is?
If you like to find that in it, I don't. I thought when I read the magazine story for the first time, I thought it was the best thriller I'd ever read. And that's really what we were looking for, and that's what Don Siegel, who directed it, was looking for. And
but it's so good, it has many levels, and it can be read on many levels.
That's certainly a big improvement over Fall Guy, because as I recall it, Invasion of the Body Snatchers was made in 14 days.
Now, I want to ask you, of all your long career, which single film are you the proudest of? And somehow after reading your book, you don't exactly say it, but I'm going to suggest that it might be In the Heat of the Night, because it has a social conscience, it says something, and yet it's so entertaining.
Well, many of my pictures have a social conscience. I think the apartment does.
Absolutely.
I think certainly West Side Story does.
Fiddler on the Roof does.
Yes, it does. However, you know, I've been asked that question before, and I always reply the same way. So forgive me for repeating it. It's just like asking which of your children is your favorite. Well, you know, some like it hot. You know, one of the great experiences of my life. But it's in the heat of the night, which you brought up a few minutes ago. Of course, is very special because I found that story right in the teeth of the civil rights revolution in America, and wanting to play some role in that horrible problem which America has faced throughout its history. I found this story, and for that I must plead guilty. There was a hidden agenda, and consequently the fact that it also combined that with what I hope was a very entertaining story, led to a film that I also hope had some influence in our country at a time of Martin Luther King's whole crusade, and hopefully influence some people in their feelings about black people and about that whole problem.
It did, and it holds up beautifully as a film, as filmmaking.
Well, I think that is its special virtue, and it says what it says very subtly and brilliantly. I think of course I'm prejudiced, but I am very proud of that because of the special role that it played in our country at that time.
In addition to all your films, what comes through in your memoir is that you have a very strong civic mindedness. You've been a good citizen. You've served as president of the Academy on the Producers Guild and Central Theater Group. You've been very active in the Los Angeles community. Did that come from your parents' background?
From my earliest youth, I've loved movies. Growing up, I was very, very influenced by the films that I saw, and I have been a very, very fortunate man since my very early youth. I have been able to spend my entire life following a pursuit, storytelling, that I sincerely love, and frankly, I feel I owe something to our society that gave me those opportunities, and hopefully will provide them to other young people now.
So that this sense of giving back, which comes through in your book and in your persona. Is there a film that you've done that you wish you hadn't?
There are a lot of those. And frankly, I don't want to mention that now because it's liable to prejudice somebody. And you never know. Sometimes it'll be better than I think they are.
Is our time up? Our time's up. So, as for instance, to end on the note, this film we just saw, isn't it a lot better than the producer of it?
Thank you all for coming.